It's time for the show that brings the magic right to your speakers. Ears up!
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Ears Up podcast. We are back. Well, I did a magical chime. I didn't even mean to.
Ooh.
I fat fingered the soundboard here. We can hear that again. Oh, that's lovely.
Oh.
That's so good. It's so nice and kind and magical and you know, animation and magic and mystery and wonder. Eventually, this is going to be the new Disney parade. It's just going to be this sound over and over again.
It's going to be the nighttime parade that's coming back.
Yeah, and they're going to haul out Bob Iger, and he's just going to be standing on a golf cart, and this is going to be playing.
Yeah.
And people are like, yes, I love it. I swore I didn't mean to swear.
It took them 4 years to figure out that.
Yeah. Anyway, what's going on here, everybody? We got Eric here. Taryn's going to join us in a little bit, but right now we are speaking with Dane, and he is the director of a great documentary about the animation department in Walt Disney World called Behind the Glass, the WDW Animation Building. Dane, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for joining us.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah, I was excited. This is as a self-proclaimed Disneyland-centric fella, I don't really know too much about Disney World or what even goes on over there. I'm not, half the time I'm not even sure it's real. People talk about it and I go, I don't understand. What do you mean?
Ooh. I do. I know about them.
Yeah, Eric,
them Walt Disney Worlds.
Eric here is our Disney World guy.
Yeah.
You know, we default to him with everything because he kind of knows he lives in that world. But being East Coast or being West Coast, excuse me, we're more Disneyland centric, and we're kind of merging into Disney World a little bit as you know we go through. We do a lot of history shows on this podcast, so we're sort of leaning in towards Disney World. Like you know, it's like peeking over the fence at your neighbor's party. Like, what are they doing over there?
Oh yeah.
What's going on? Oh yeah. So I was excited that you brought this up, and we were able to learn about it. I had no idea that this was a building. So it's the Magic of Disney Animation Building, if I have the name right.
Yes. Yeah.
And essentially what it was a working animation studio that guests could walk through and like watch the animators like working on real projects. Like, right?
Exactly. Yep.
To me, that's wild because it's, you know, and someone addresses it in the documentary a little bit, but what was amazing to me is we got a tour of Pixar out here in Emeryville a couple of years ago. I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And we couldn't go through the actual animation area because they were working on some project, some like top secret thing, or they were in budget. They were like, we got a week to do this. Yeah. So do you know how they would handle stuff like that in this? Like was it stuff that was deemed too sensitive, couldn't go so the public could see, or do you know about the inner workings of that at all?
Yeah, I heard a little bit about that. And yeah, some of it is talked about a little bit, but honestly, there wasn't really that big of an issue with that. The whole reason that they did the building was that they wanted to show people this kind of stuff. And back then, there wasn't internet. This was 89, you know.
Wait a minute. Hold on. What?
Well, I should say there was AOL, but like portable camera, stuff like that. It was
you weren't streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah. People weren't live streaming what was going on. I got you. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a lot different than today. So
for sure.
It was much easier to see somebody with a giant VHS camera than, you know, one of these. And so they said no pictures or videos from guests coming in besides on the floor. You could videotape. That's why there's a lot of videos of the like Back to Neverland short and the Classics Theater, but there's not a lot of video from guest point of view of the animators because of that rule. So that's how they kind of stopped that, because it was, I would imagine it was kind of elevated a little bit. You couldn't really see exactly what they were working on, like the pictures themselves, but you could kind of get the gist of what they were actually doing.
Yeah, you saw a lot of backs of people.
Yeah, like you couldn't like take pictures and leak anything really.
Yeah, and you know, looking at the footage that you have in the doc, it is very, you know, they're elevated, I don't know, like 3/4, like 45-degree angle looking down and kind of far away. So you could see people flipping maybe. And you know, and that's about it. But that's still pretty awesome. And I feel like that's what Disney does really well.
Yeah.
Is they give you the behind the scenes look. They open the kimono a little bit. and go like, this is how everything is done, and that's what people want. So I was disappointed when as soon as I saw the subject matter, I'm like, I've never heard of this. That means, and this is how smart I am, that means it's not there anymore, and that's sad. I don't like that.
Yeah, yep.
So what inspired you to put this thing together, man?
Yeah, so I mean, most people don't know about it. That's the reason I was inspired to make it. There was a great book that came out in like 21, 22, something like that. And it's actually what partly inspired the name of it. The book is called Behind the Glass at the Florida Studio or something like that.
Okay.
The actual title is like Disney Renaissance Years Behind the Glass at the Florida Studio. So yeah, that book came out and I found out about that and I read it and I was like, this is really good. But the book was written by a person that worked there. And it's more about the technology of actually what they were doing, like the cap system and the flipping and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I was like, I want more of like the history of the people, like the personal stories that these people had. Because like they talk about Bridget in that book.
Mm-hmm.
And then I researched Bridget a little bit and I was like, there needs to be something about this. So I wrote it down as one of my like just video ideas. And I was like, it would be cool to do something like that. And I like to have a big project every year.
Okay.
So when this year kind of came, and I didn't have anything yet, this was probably March of last year. I saw that idea in my ideas book, and I was like, there's something there. Because as soon as you start digging, I found a website that one of the people made with all the footage that's included in the video.
Oh, geez.
And I was like, there's something like there needs to be something made about this. Like there is untapped potential here, and no one has done a video on this. There's one history video on it, and it's good.
Yeah,
but it's not as deep as I wanted to go. And I was like, yeah, especially if I can somehow get animators involved with this, we could do something really cool with this.
Yeah, and what I like what you did is you didn't stop at the history of the building, like you just said, you wanted the history of the people and the stories behind what happened. And I think that's where Disney kind of falls apart a little bit. They, at some point along the way, it feels like I don't want to say they lost their humanity, because that's a very dramatic thing to say. Yeah. But it is very much like, here's our technology and we're great, and the people behind it who make it are awesome. The end. And then they just move on. Mm-hmm. But you were able to really tackle those things and learn about how people were even involved in this project. And we'll like get around to that. But you mentioned the lady Bridget. She was an animator who passed away from cancer, unfortunately. Yeah. And there's a lovely tribute, and it's in a good part of the movie too. The pacing is really good. Where it's really up, and then the Bridget parts come, because every documentary you need to take down a little bit. Yeah. And get you human and humanize your subjects again, because I think at some point you kind of go, oh well, these are people who drew, who cares, right? But no, they're like real people. And there was a very touching moment where basically the company allowed the animators to build a garden in her honor, and it was like the fact that the company allowed them to do that is awesome. It's just a really good moment from all sides. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, this isn't it might be a spoiler, but the garden's still there. That is the one thing that is still there all these years that I know of, besides some stuff. Like, I think Nature's Table is still there. The restaurant that was in the expansion of the studio. Okay. I think that's still open to cast members, but to my knowledge, Bridget's Garden is the only thing that is from feature animation still that's still there. So that thing means a lot to a lot of people. I bet. Yeah.
That makes me feel really bad about saying that rather than putting the new Monsters Inc. stuff in the Muppets area, we should just take down the old animation building, because it's just offices now. Nobody cares about that. Yeah. You added this pathos to it. I'm like, no, we can't get rid of that building.
Well, they can just move the garden. Yeah. Wait, is it going in Muppets? Because we're gonna have a riot on our hands.
As far as I heard, it's going in the building.
See, change.org is going to be a flame with petitions that no one will sign.
Yeah, it hasn't been completely revealed where it's going to go. There are a lot of ideas, but yeah, who knows?
Oh, I'm not happy about that.
I think if it goes in Animation Courtyard, that garden's moved. It's moved somewhere else. I don't think there's any way they bulldoze that.
That would be good.
I agree.
Yeah. Or behind
I think
whatever
so
structure they put in there. Like, preserve that. That's important to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of the subjects in the movie, how did you pull all these people together? Because you do have animators and directors, and you have people who have moved on from the positions they were in, and they are probably very busy people.
Yes, they are. I ask myself that question every day. How did I get these people involved? Yeah, I started reaching out to them around the holidays.
Okay.
So that's when I started doing the interviews, because the lead up to that was a lot of planning and a lot of researching. That was like the research planning phase, storyboarding as much as we knew of what we knew of the building so far. Because when we started doing the interviews, then the story was just presented to me, because it was just like, this thing writes itself. Like it
For sure,
because every single thing that is laid out in that video or in this documentary is all true. There's nothing that is like Hollywood, anything. There's nothing that's dramatized. Like, all of these stories actually happened, and the stuff with the garden and everything like that happened in chronological order. So it was like, this is exactly like, I can't believe somebody hasn't already made this. And so yeah, but reaching out to people, I did it around the holidays, and I just found a bunch of emails. Not going to tell you where I found those emails, but
that's all right, man.
I always have trouble answering this question without leaking info, but yeah.
Okay, so you have a source, and that's all we can say. Okay, that's fair.
Yes, I just made a bunch of contacts, pretty much. Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, I've been in that boat too, and you go like, what do you say? I don't know. You hem and haw. You lie, and you found it online or something.
Yes. Yeah.
That's cool, man. And it's nice that they were willing to sit and talk about it. And I always have a hard time with movies like this, with talking about documentaries, because there's so much involved, and making a documentary is, in my mind, kind of, you're a cook with 8 arms. You're doing this, you're doing like pre-production planning, and you're doing stories, and then you have to do an interview or whatever. You're like writing everything down. So it's hard to be linear about how things come together, but you're talking about the story. So you did all your research, which I saw you shouted out. Was it Steve the intern for your research? So, bless ups to Steve.
Yeah, bless ups to Steve.
What did you do? You wrote the outline, you wrote the script, I suppose, and then did you contact the people and be like, "Hey, this is what we're going to go through"? Did you guide them through that? Because when you interview them, and see, I get ahead of myself. And this is my problem. What I look for in a good documentary is when all of the stories that the interviewees are giving kind of line up and they jive in sequence. And I think that's just like a sign, number one, of good preparation and good planning, but like good editing also. Because you have 3 or 4 people telling the same kind of story, so you get the same basic perspective. And I like that. And to me, that's like your 60% there if you just have that aspect of it.
Yeah.
But I imagine that's really hard to do. How does that aspect come together?
Yeah, so pretty much Steve works with me on all of my videos. He is my researcher / writer, kind of. I'm also a writer, but he's kind of like a fact checker researcher.
Okay.
So he works with me on everything. Same thing with Annie. She's my producer on the channel. So pretty much we started with a lot of notes. This isn't the exact notepad.
Don't ruin it. No, it is. It is. Don't ruin it, Dane. Come
on. So pretty much we started with a whole bunch of notes. And what we knew, what we could find out on Google, just basic Google searches, pretty much. Because everything, if you search up Walt Disney Feature Animation Florida, there is three things that will pop up: Wikipedia, Disney Wiki, and maybe a few videos on YouTube. And those videos are not informational because they're back to Neverland POVs. Now it might be a little different because of this. I'm not sure. But at the time, it was only those. And they're not very helpful.
Just a walkthrough of the tour. Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine.
That footage in the film of the walkthrough of the tour, that took me forever to find. That was not available on YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah, most of that footage is not available on YouTube, and I was very happy when I got that. So I just did a basic outline pretty much, and then when we started doing the interviews, I started adding more to the outline. And then when we were done with the last interview, I took everything that I had and we started basically storyboarding. And everything that is in the documentary I had at that time when we started storyboarding. Basically took a whiteboard with Mary, the story outline in the credits. And we basically just made a bunch of squares on this whiteboard, and we mapped out the entire film. And then when we were done with that, I went in and started editing all the videos. And I guess I should mention, for the interviews themselves, I asked them all the exact same question.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, except if there were like Jerry Reese, like when I was talking to Jerry, I didn't ask him like an animator question. I asked, obviously, so I kind of just made a bunch of highlights with different colors on what I should ask different people pretty much. And yeah, it took a lot of time.
Okay.
That portion of the making of the thing probably took from October, like middle of October through, I think it was early January when we did the last interview. And then from January to very early May was when we finished the film. And then that was all post-production time. And then everything before that was pre-production stuff, just writing down the questions, seeing what we had, getting all the stuff that was already available online. There wasn't much of it, but like pictures of the outside of the building, media stuff from 1989, stuff like that. Making all the contacts and everything. Yeah.
How excited were you? Well, I'm excited, but if it were me, I would be really excited because I'm interviewing story people.
Yeah.
So I sort of already know going into it, these people they know how to tell a linear story.
Yes.
It's not, was there a lot of bouncing around, where you had to go like, oh God, this is going to be a pain to edit.
Yeah.
Okay. Really? All right.
There was one interview where I nearly canceled the film.
Wow.
There
Call
was,
him out. Who was it?
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
What happened?
It was a great interview. It wasn't bad or anything. Yeah. It was just so good that I nearly canceled the thing.
What do you mean?
It's hard to explain. I forget who it was. I'm trying to think of even who it was because it's such a blur. But there was just so much that they gave me that I didn't know about. And it was like, how am I going to add this to the film? But then that's when it became an hour and 40 minutes long. Because originally, this was only supposed to be 30 minutes.
Okay. Wow.
The original outline was a 30-minute film. And then this interview happened, and then it was an hour and 30 with credits.
So it expanded your essential worldview on the project, and was it maybe like, oh my God, this is too much pressure. I can't do it.
There was a lot of times that was going on. There was a lot of times that was happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is this like a pet project though for you, right? Like this is a hobby, or is this your profession?
No, it's hobby.
Okay. Yeah. See, even then, at some point, everybody, when we're just podcasters, right?
Yeah.
But probably every other day, I'm going, this is a lot of pressure for just a hobby. This sucks. I don't want to do it right now. I really don't. And then you do it, and it's like fun, but you go through that, and I imagine, especially looking at that wall of information and going, oh, this is a lot. This is going to be way more of my free time than I necessarily want to give right now.
Yeah.
How do you push through and see it through?
So out of that interview, it gave me this outline for the ending. It wasn't the person that's in the ending, but it gave me the outline. because they just explained about the closing and mentioned this thing about where the equipment went, and they also mentioned that there was somebody there like on the last day, and I'm like, okay, I have to find that last person, and it just happened to be Aaron, because I had Aaron on my list before I knew really anything about him. I just knew that he was there from like day one, and it just so happened that he was also the last person to walk through the door as an animator, which was nice, because then I didn't have to find somebody else. So they gave me the ending, and I was like, okay, so I have the ending, and then they gave me a bunch of other stuff, and I was like, how am I going to do this? And it was a lot of talking to myself, really.
I mean, at some point you go too far, you can't turn back, or you've wasted more time than you would waste finishing.
I didn't think it was a waste of time. I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. But just hearing everybody's stories and hearing how so many people that were in this were very excited for a thing like that, because this is not the first time that something like this has been tried to be made.
The film, you mean?
Yeah. They've tried to make a film about this before. It's just never gotten off the ground.
The animators involved?
Yes. And
really? Okay.
Yeah. And I did hear that because of this film, things are being talked about, but I can't talk much more about that.
Wow, that's cool, man.
Yes.
Look at you.
So I just kind of like I was like, these people deserve their story out there. Like there's, if I don't do this, it's going to not happen ever. I was afraid. So I just, that's the whole point I made it, because it was just like, it's not a personal gain. Like I've seen a lot of growth on my channel, and that's all that's great. I'm not complaining about that at all, but that was not the point of making the film. The point of making the film was presenting a great story. And
I mean, I was watching this thing. I'm like, this kid doesn't even have ads in his documentary. What's going on? Why is he monetizing? Let's go, baby. We got to get $5 from YouTube or whatever it is.
These folks clearly wanted to tell their story.
Yes, they did.
You could feel that from them, and that's what really struck me. It took a few minutes to kind of get into it, and then once I started identifying these people, like this attraction was part of my childhood. I remember going to Disney MGM in the early days, and really looking forward to going through this area.
I don't know if you can say childhood at your age, or
whatever. Yes, in my late 40s, I remember going to Disney MGM Studios.
I think you're younger than me, which makes it funny.
Yeah. But it was, that was so cool to see all this stuff happening, and then to hear their stories firsthand. Like, you had me, like, after it only took a few minutes. I'm like, okay, I'm in. Hour and a half. Let's go. That's
exactly why I wanted animators telling it, because I was like, they're gonna tell it better than me. Obviously, like, it's gonna be boring listening to me tell the story. It's gonna be really cool for them to explain it.
Yeah, you had a little bit of both in there, which is good.
Yeah,
I mean, not you, but scripted. And some of the best interviews we've done are people who wore boots on the ground and are just telling stories about their time, and people are always going to want to listen to that, especially in a thing that's no longer there. I mean, Disney fans have this, maybe it's an obsession, maybe it's a cult-like kind of thing for what's not there anymore.
Yeah.
We want to dig it up. We want to learn about it. We want to, we want to lament the fact that things have changed and it's not there. And sometimes that's not healthy. And sometimes it's warranted. So, you talk about at the end, like the Animation Academy or whatever, it's now the Star Wars launch bay.
Yes.
And for something as meaningful as to guests like Eric, apparently, and to the animators who work there or whatever, to now just be a walkthrough of a purchased IP is kind of horrendous. And as much as I love Star Wars, it's like, this is not, come on.
It has nothing to do with animation. I mean, there's the animated Star Wars things that aren't represented in there. What the building now is atrocious. It really is. And I have a good relationship with people in Disney, but I will say that I've never had a single conversation that has said anything good about Disney or about not Disney about Launch Bay.
Oh, okay.
Never had.
Right.
Never had
Either
a single
one would not surprise me.
Conversation about Launch Bay.
No, because it's just something to do.
Yeah, people that even work there know it's bad, and
yeah,
that's probably why it's going to be going soon. Yeah,
it's a bunch of posters.
Pretty much.
Is it?
Yeah.
Maybe you can see Chewbacca.
Yeah.
Is our Launch Bay better than Disney World Launch Bay, Eric?
Disneyland's Launch Bay is better because at Walt Disney World, it is sad. It's
really
sad.
We never
It's
went
horrible.
in. I don't even know if it was around. I don't know what was there when we were there. 2015 was it?
So it would have been Innoventions, 2015.
Oh, well, there you go. Perfect.
Yeah, we didn't see that.
Yeah, we did.
Innoventions?
Yeah.
At Disney World.
I don't know, man.
I don't think so.
Like the whole thing was a rosé filled
No,
blur.
I remember
okay?
almost all of it. I do not think we went into Innoventions.
Okay. It was overheating. My brain was melting.
That's true.
And the only way I can cool it down was cans of Yingling and giant cups of rosé at the pool.
It's
That's
the
all.
only way to experience
Yeah.
Launch Bay.
Good strategy.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that's what happened. Yeah, I like the timeline that you took everybody through where, from the one of my favorite parts came early on when they were like, Eisner was basically going, hey, can you take some of that land that you got and just make a soundstage? And I'm like, it's like the most Eisner thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then it happened. Like, oh yeah, okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
It was neat. It's interesting to hear about the scale and some of the infrastructure and logistics, I suppose, of how these animators going, like, how are we going to staff two full-time animation studios on either coast that are just tied to both of our parks, sort of, kind of, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
That had to be insane. And so you go through and you talk. I mean, you talk to the HR lady, someone from HR, about hiring people, and it there's a lot of in me this going like, well, you had to hire people just off the street almost to get bodies in first.
Well, what I loved about that part of the film. Hi, I'm Taryn.
Hey.
What I loved about that part was that there were some photos and things of these college students and these just college art students, and I had this like intense like jealousy of like just that time of like, can you imagine being in art school at some college and just having Disney come in and basically hiring anybody who's willing? Like, it didn't even sound like they were very like, if you had experience in paint, let's try it out. Like,
you get a paint test and you do the thing.
Can you imagine just like starting your career with Disney because they just showed up at your college while you were a junior or whatever? Like,
they needed a warm body with a paintbrush.
Yeah. I think they said there was 70 people. It was a 70-person studio when it first opened. Probably 68 of those were straight out of college.
Wow.
That's amazing.
There were so many straight out of college people, like very young people making their first films in that studio.
What an excellent way to start your career.
Yeah. Well, and one of the gals, I forget her name, she was like, I got promoted, basically fast tracked every movie that came through the studio. I got promoted, not because I was, Rachel, not because I was good, but because they needed somebody to do the thing. And I'm like,
you're a vet
well,
now.
Rachel came in and the first actual film she worked on was Lion King.
That's insane.
Yeah, dude.
That's incredible.
Like, come on, like what?
That's awesome.
The films in there that were made is just incredible. Like, you're talking to people that, as an audience, you're hearing from people that worked on Aladdin and Lion King and stuff like that. It's just insane to think about.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Aladdin, Mulan was apparently. Then they got Mulan, which is their first full-length animated feature to be done entirely at the Florida studios right there. Yeah, which is crazy to me to think that you can just be walking through, as a guest, not knowing what's going on, and then I don't know, a year later, go, oh yeah, I think I saw someone drawing that. I mean, maybe not, but you feel like you could, I guess.
Yeah. One thing that that you guys talked about in the film was Rabbit Roller Coaster. Was that what it was called?
Roller Coaster Rabbit.
Roller Coaster Rabbit, which everybody talking in the film talked like this was like a well-known like movie, and I'm like, I have never heard of this in my life.
I never heard of it either too. I was like, oh, this looks great though, I gotta watch it.
I'm like, I'm a big Roger Rabbit fan, but like I was like, what did I miss?
Yeah.
Apparently the first thing made at the Florida Animation Studios.
I can't remember what
on.
movie that short appeared before, but I know I've seen it at least once. I loved Roger Rabbit too.
One of those shorts was one of them was before Dick Tracy, but I don't know what. Maybe it was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. One of the
Maybe that's
Honey,
it,
I Shrunk
yeah.
Ourselves or something, because that was that 89.
Honey, we shrunk the short. I don't know. Yeah,
It does sound
And
familiar.
I Shrunk the Baby or something, because there's like 15
probably.
of them.
I mean,
blew up the baby.
Blew up the baby. Yeah.
Yeah, Honey, I Exploded the Child. That's a different movie. There's a big heart section, I suppose, in the movie where you're talking about the animators, and they're basically saying like, we were from all over the country and we relocated to Florida and we didn't fit in anywhere. We didn't belong, and so we just were each other's family, and we hung out. Not only just at work, and but we would go walk around the park, or we would hang out at on the weekends, and our families would get together, and we would have birthdays, and they were like a real community of people, and they would go to what Disney Springs, I guess now, or whatever. They would go to like the Virgin Record store and buy CDs, and they go shopping, and it kind of reminded me, like sort of like Walt's original vision for Epcot. Without the living there, where it's like, oh, we're working there, we're playing here, we're spending all of our company script in this in this thing. But it was really cool and strangely beautiful in a way where these people didn't feel like they fit in, so they had to just form these familial bonds with each other. And that's the story that you're talking about, and that's what you could miss if you don't talk to these people. If you just go, well, the building was built in 19, whatever, and these movies were made, and that's it. But that's not, there's that deeper personal connection that you get to in a really nice paced manner.
Yeah, all of these animators that are in these films are just so. I mean, everybody in this film, not just the animators, the everyone up to like Bob Weiss are just so. You wouldn't, if you met them, you wouldn't know that they worked on these incredible films. They are so humble and so nice. I mean, most of them I reached out to, and they got back to me within like a couple hours, and they were like, yeah, whatever you need. We've heard that this is happening. Whenever and whatever you need, just let me know. They've helped with marketing, promoting the film. One of them, it's actually being screened in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where I'm from, because of Matt Novak, who's in the film. He works at the Pennsylvania College of Art and Design, so he got it there, and that's being screened on November 1st. Yeah, Rachel is such a nice woman. I'm going out to California actually this week, and she's just like, go out to dinner. I'm like, yeah, Disney animator, sure, yeah,
Is she still working at the company?
Yes.
She's still a Disney animator.
Is.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah, she works at the Burbank studio.
That's cool. She can take you around.
Was it harder to get animators who are currently working at Disney to do interviews with you? Because I know that they sometimes have roadblocks.
Yes. Rachel is the only one in the
Roblox.
movie that currently works for the company for animation. There was somebody who I tried to get in contact with. He was on board. He wanted to do it, and then a division of Imagineering blocked it. Not going to say which one, but a division of Imagineering.
Okay.
Mark Henn almost got blocked because he retired recently, and they initially didn't allow him to do interviews. So we waited on that one, and then came back, and he was like, "Yep, I'll do it." He was
Nice.
That guy, you wouldn't even know what he did. Like, literally, like I forgot I was talking to the guy that created Ariel when I was talking to him. Like I thought, like I was talking to him, and he just felt like a fan. Like I was, it's talking, movies about with these people. You feel, at least I felt like I was talking to just a fan. It was these people are unbelievable.
Yeah, I want to say it's the Disney hiring method.
Yeah.
Or it's just the fact of working at Disney, where people who have giant egos don't last very long, or or they're not pleasant, or they wouldn't reach out in the first place. But I think you have so many talented people, so many hundreds of working on a film, right? And they keep their egos in check because we can all do the thing that we're talking about. You know what I mean? Maybe someone could draw waves better than I can or whatever, but we all can do the same thing. We're all at the same basic level, kind of. So there's no competition. I feel like that makes you a little more friendly of a person. And then, you know what I mean? And it very much, like we've spoken to a few people that used to work at the company, and they're all just you just want to be friends with everybody. And you feel like you're just chatting with your friend, like, oh wait, no, actually I have to run an interview right now.
Yeah.
So, but it's that Disney connection, it's that Disney quality that it's cool to see a common thread.
Yeah.
Around every interview that that you get. And I think to a certain extent, to work at Disney, you have to have that level of likability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Timmy, who's at the end of the film, he worked at the Animation Academy. Teaching the drawing. He is like I probably text him like every month or so, just check in, like just have a conversation. He's such a nice guy.
That's cool.
Yeah. The film reached, I do remember the film reached another level during the interview process when we got in contact with Bob Weiss and Mark Henn. It was really when Mark Henn accepted, because that was somebody that immediately, there were two people that I wanted involved with the film, Max Howard and Mark Henn, and I got both of them. So when we got Mark, I was very ecstatic, and he's great in the film. Bob Weiss, I sent that email on a whim. This guy's involved with it. He was he was like creative lead on MGM Studios as a park. And I was like, he's probably not going to respond, but there's no hurt. If I get him, it would be great. If I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
And then within a half an hour, he responded, and he was scheduled within like 40 minutes. And I was just like,
isn't that always the way, man? Where it's like you sort of second guess yourself and you pump yourself up. And I do this, especially when I'm trying to reach out to people. Like we just reached out, we just had an interview with Stan Freeze, who was like the former Disneyland band leader in the world. And
Josh
he
Freeze's
did.
dad.
Yeah. And man, I hemmed and hawed for months about trying to reach out to him. Like, there's no way this guy's going to friggin' talk to us.
Yeah.
Like, who are we? What? And he was just like, and I wrote him, and it took a couple days for him to get back because he's retired. I mean, he's not retired, but he's busy. He's working at the Knott's right now. And he just writes back, sure, with an exclamation point. And I'm like, well, what the hell does that mean? Is it yes? Do you want to do it? Are you just like, yeah, sure, whatever? And it was one of the best times I've ever had, because that dude's just laughing the entire time. He's such a nice man. Yeah. And it's those moments where you kind of go like, maybe I don't need to second guess. I have value. You know what I mean? I'm a thing, and I can connect with this person, and I don't know. You know what I mean? Like we're sort of in the same industry, kind of, sort of entertainment. I don't know.
I do know that I had a stronger pitch than most for interviews, because I had something that most of them love to talk about, and some of the time, like with Jerry and Bob and stuff like that, the people like that, they don't really talk about that project all that often. So it was a much stronger pitch than like, let's just talk about your career, which
you're very
works
focused
sometimes, and that's great. When that's amazing. That's my favorite type of interview to do, where it's just like, let's talk about your career. But unfortunately, most people don't like to do that.
Well, you can you can kind of meander through a whole thread, but I agree, if you have a pointed specific thing, and these are the questions I'm going to do, and whatever. I bet you're probably in more than out as someone who's
that's
interested
exactly
in doing that.
how I got Bob Weiss, was because he's never talked about that project publicly, to my knowledge.
Well, I think a lot of high level people are like that too, especially if they're busy, right? And you go, this is exactly what I want from you, and this is exactly what we're going to cover, and it's a lot easier for them, because I do think some people, as open and gregarious as they are, some people don't like to talk about themselves. or don't like to reminisce or do whatever, but they want to share information. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the best way to do it. I think that's really cool. So you talk in there. Of course, there was a big expansion for the studio because everything was going well, but the expansion almost sounds like it was sort of the downfall in a certain way. It broke up that community.
Yeah.
And there's a few moments where people are kind of lamenting that fact, where it's like we were a community and we didn't see each other as much because you can go to the library or this big building and people weren't around as much anymore. And I wonder if work suffered, but yeah, I don't know. Did you get a sense that was sort of like the beginning of the end kind of thing from these people?
Yeah. I got a feeling. I mean, I knew the story, obviously, but if I were to go back in time, it certainly seems that writing was on the wall. I heard a mix of opinions on the closing. I heard some people that were shocked by it, and I heard some people that knew it was going to happen, and some people even knew it was going to happen and had left before it happened.
Yeah, there's always rumors with that,
Yes. Yeah, and the expansion was both blessing and a curse because they could finally do bigger movies, but when there was one flop, that was all it took.
Yeah, Brother Bear is kind of what the sense that I got from the movie was like that was it should have done more.
And I think there was also outside factor. I think there was certainly company politics that I had to really be careful when talking about that in the film. But I think there were certainly some issues with that. Certainly, some folks that were not in the company anymore that had been when the studio was built. That viewed it a little bit differently now. Should have and maybe thought that everything should be concised into Burbank. Because essentially that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to take the most talented artists from Florida, move them to Burbank, so they can make what in their head were going to be better films. But in reality, it completely backfired because most people left.
Well, and that's what I understand is because you could take you cut up a film like The Lion King, and you talk about the specific segments that were produced in Florida, and I mean The Lion King is arguably the most well-known animation from Disney ever, right?
Yeah.
Top 2, whatever. So how do you justify as a company going like, well, we could do better if everybody was over here? What do you mean you could do better? You could do cheaper, probably. But maybe not also because you got, Florida salary versus California salary.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. It seems like someone justifying their job to be like, well, let's consolidate and save 2% on the budget.
Yeah. Oh, it's also really funny considering that they shut down what's it called? My People's
Imagineering
in favor of Chicken Little.
Yeah, you talked about that a little bit. And you had clips of that movie. I didn't know anything about it. I have no idea. So it was really neat. You have you name these projects that sort of were canceled or whatever. It's like, oh, it's fascinating to me.
Yeah, My People's, they weren't really working on a lot at the time of closure that didn't come to fruition. There was a few things that Aaron and his crew were working on, like storyboarding, that never really went anywhere. Yeah, but My People's is the big one that didn't happen. That was supposed to. I mean, they were doing character models, stuff like that. And
there's
everything that is
in
the film, to my knowledge, that's everything that's available. Everything else is either non-existent or destroyed along the way.
Where did you get that from? I mean, you talk actually. Well, that's a broad question. Let's open it up.
Yeah,
because you did talk about like finding this footage. And at what point where do you go for that? How are you digging around for that?
So the footage of the characters in a movie theater is a animation test. At that time, somebody made an animation test for those characters. Some of that stuff was from the archives because I was just curious what they had. And they had the model sheets.
Did you get to dig through archives? Like visit archives for research?
I did not get to visit it, and I did not get to dig through it, but I contacted somebody and said, "Hey, what do you have from My People's?" And they said, "This is what we have," and it was just the model sheets.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Are you gonna go to archives when you're out here?
I might if I'm allowed to.
See if you can. I mean, it's a weird ask probably, but we've been once. It's a trip, man. It's a trip.
I don't know if I can. I probably could. It's not a secret. I've talked to him about it before. Somebody invited me to the animation building.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm gonna get to go there. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to go over to the lot or not. I would like to see the archive building and to see the Seven Dwarfs building and to see the old animation studio, but I don't know if we'll have time for that. I'm not quite sure about that.
Yeah,
it's a great tour if you have the time. Yeah,
that's sweet, dude. Yeah. One thing I want to ask you about, and then we'll let you go because it's getting late. But just from a technical standpoint, when you're shooting interviews, obviously it's like on Zoom, or you're not in the same room with everybody, right?
Yeah, it was actually on Zoom. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And I mean, not that it was like brand specific, but I meant more in the fact that like you weren't in the same room with them.
Yeah, sure.
But for stuff like this, you know, where we're just talking, we're mainly an audio, podcast, but we put the video up. You know, the things like, I don't worry about your camera position or lighting or whatever. But making a movie, how do you release that kind of like creative control, I guess, and be like, well, look, I'm going to trust these guys. They just do whatever. From a audio quality standpoint, it sounds great.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about that. But like
the cameras were an
how do you not? They were okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that was because not something I was going to bring up to them because I didn't really want to.
You can't. There's a certain point where you can't ask too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't want to. Like when the reason Bob Weiss is voice only is because he was like out of the office that day. You know, like something like that dramatically changes the film. That I was like,
dude,
not really happy about that. But like, what are you gonna do? It's Bob Weiss. And he even said, like, you know, if you need to reshoot, just let me know and we'll we can reshoot something. But I wasn't gonna, I didn't want to.
How much do you put people out? That's the eternal question. It's like, what do you say? How do you?
Thankfully, we didn't have to reshoot anything.
I think it worked. I think what you did worked.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I did the best that I can with the video. What I just tried to do is just make it the actual resolution high quality. And I think I got it to 720p. I think I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and I think it looks great. I think it's very clear that you put a lot of effort into it. And I just mean from a standpoint of like, you're not going to be in charge of what angle.
Oh yeah.
Like you get like the 3/4 or because you would want normally like at least a 2-camera shoot or something like that. You can't have that. So you have the one on. For me, I would be doing nothing but thinking about that the entire time I'm doing the interview because that's my brain is insane. And so I guess I don't know if you're the same way, but if you are, how did you get over that? That's all I was asking.
So like, what I did with that is at the beginning of every interview, I said, so the way that this is what I told him. I said, the way that I'm going to be recording this is I'm going to be recording to every interview. I'm going to be recording to the cloud of Zoom because when you hit record to the cloud, it records whoever is speaking. It takes from their camera. It's not taking from the Zoom meeting.
Oh, that's smart.
So their square will be larger and therefore be higher quality. So I said, when I ask the question, I will mute and then give me a few minutes so that I get off screen before you start talking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And they did. There was a couple of times where it came in a little too early, but it was fine. I put B-roll over that, so.
I didn't even notice. As a guy who looks for flaws, I wouldn't have noticed. I wouldn't have noticed.
Yeah.
I look, I think it's great. I think it's an awesome way to have interviews about subject matter that people care about without having to fly all over the country.
Yeah.
To figure it out. You know what I mean? And that setup and that cost. And I feel like you did an extraordinary job for the budget that you had and the time that you had to do it. I mean, it's awesome. And hopefully, if there is a project in the works, you can be part of that too, man.
Yeah,
because I think it's your, I don't say passion. I feel like it's overused, but I feel it's your guidance in telling a story that came through more than anything, which I think is neat. I don't know. And that's why I guess I like documentaries, especially from, young people. Being old myself, I can't say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, it's and I guess that's the content creator mentality as well too. Or I'm just going to make this stupid thing. I'm going to make it. I'm going to do it. And I think what that does, it helps people develop how to tell a story rather than getting hung up on technology, or like I said, like what angle do I shoot from? Well, I need this light, or I need to put diffusion on the thing, or whatever. It's like, no, we can just don't worry about it. Just do the thing, right? And I think that's the interest that you have in the topic and the desire that you have to get the story out is very, very clear. And
I mean, honestly, the camera, that was the least of my worries. I was more focused on how do I make these transitions? That was a big thing, because it was like, how do I guide a story? Even though I asked them all the exact same questions, it was like, how do I guide a story without me talking? Because that was my goal. I was like, I do not want you to hear my voice except for the production logo. And I met that goal. I do not talk a single time in this whole thing. It is all animators and people who worked at the building.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very proud of myself for that.
I think it's
I met that.
Yeah, well, I think it shows that your planning and your writing is very solid, because you can't do what you did without having all of that groundwork laid in the first place.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
Yeah.
So I think it's awesome, man. And I'm only talking about the camera stuff just because that's what I did. I've done a bunch of stuff before too, and it's just like I obsess over that.
I've heard worse,
and I love talking about. No, I love. I'm not, and I'm worried that it's coming across as a negative, and that's not what I mean. I really want to make that clear, because it's for me. I focus on dumb stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to know from other creators if they focus on dumb stuff too, or if you're smarter than me and you can go, the story's much more important. I don't really care. Like, I'm not worried about it. I'm talking to these Disney legends, you know what I mean? About telling the story that I want to tell. And it sounds like you're not like me at all, which is great for you.
Yeah.
you probably sleep really well.
Yeah. I mean, I did focus on dumb stuff during this, but I mean, other than that, it was,
of course, man.
Yeah, all good. The camera angle was not it was a concern in post-production more so than when like recording.
Everything gets blown up in post.
Yeah.
Everything is like, oh my God, is this gonna, and then it releases and everyone's like, dude, this is awesome. You're like, of course it is.
Yeah. And then everything works out fine.
Yeah. Anyway, everybody, we've been talking with Dane. He is the director of a great documentary called Behind the Glass, the WDW Animation Building. Dane, where is the best place people can watch this movie? On your YouTube channel?
Yes. It's on youtube.com/c/bigbeautifuldiz, or you can just look up Beyond the Glass on Google. It'll come right up.
Yeah, I loved it. Great job. I mean, what else do you do? You were mentioning you're part of like a collective and you have a pod or something like that?
Yeah, I do. I do the side podcast. I do that, Creators United, every once in a while. I took a break for the summer on my channel, but I'll be coming back real soon with some videos about Disneyland.
Nice.
Yeah, and actually, listen, I never said this before at all. I actually recently started working on something for next year. So.
Awesome.
What is it?
Like another film?
Yes.
Awesome. Very cool.
You want to give us a hint, or are you going to keep it for yourself? You're going to be selfish?
I guess there's a theme. It's about another animation studio.
Oh,
okay.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
Sounds like we'll leave it at that, but
yep.
we'll definitely go to the channel, hit the follow button, hit like and subscribe. As I don't know, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, Dane, I really appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. It's been great. The movie was a treat, and it was really fun to see not only these people just talk about their hitting, but how much fun they were having, and how they would forget that there were guests around and they had to justify themselves. It's just those kind of stories. They stick with you. And it's really great. So everyone, please do me a favor. Go check it out. Behind the Glass, the WDW Animation Building. And Dane, we're going to let you split. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and Eric is going to regale us with something. I don't really know what. Maybe just this camera angle.
Great.
Yeah.
Why not?
Okay. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break, everyone. We'll be right back. Hang on.
Back to Ears Up, where the opinions never stop. Ever.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Big thanks to Dane coming on the show. And I just realized he's in Florida. It's 12:30 almost there.
Yeah. He's
Poor
young.
kid's like,
he's
bro,
fine.
let me go to bed. No. See, this is not, now I'm going to be thinking about this.
He's not Jeremy. Jeremy, you can feel bad for.
Oh,
He's,
God, I got to go to bed. Jeremy, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I know. Yeah, it was a really great. Documentary there, and it's always good to see. I don't know, fan edits. No, that's not the term I'm looking for. It's always good to see documentaries from like not big production houses or whatever. It was neat.
It was really well
cool,
done.
Yeah.
It was impressive.
God, and I know what he meant about like being excited. My voice changed. About like landing these big interviews. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Yeah,
Well,
there's so many big people.
I wanted to ask, but I figured you guys probably already went over it before I came in. But like, how did he even get their contact? Like, how did he?
He
do
said
that?
he was very cheeky about it.
Ooh.
He was very sneaky. He said, I can't really tell you, but I have contacts. I'm like, say no more, brother. As a fellow contact haver, I get it.
Yeah.
You don't want to. He's like, I don't want to ruin them. Don't worry about it. You're good.
No,
you're good.
That's all you have to say.
Yeah, it's good to know people sometimes, I guess.
I suppose so.
Yeah. Anyway, good stuff. So appreciate Dane from coming on, and go check it out. Behind the Glass, the WDW Animation Building, which again I never knew existed, had no idea. But even if you don't really care about attraction history or whatever, there's a lot of cool little nuggets from the movies that they worked on in Florida, like Aladdin and Mulan and Lilo and Stitch and stuff like that. So you get a lot of good trivia, little nuggets here and there, and there's something for everybody, something for every fan base here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. You know what else is good? If you're going to the parks at all, hit up Concierge. Go to concierge.com. And they're going to help you plan your trip to the parks, especially if you're going the next few months. There's so many things that are closed and being refurbished and what's opening soon and whatever, and you don't really know. And then there's a bunch of stuff going. There's a bunch of changes. Who cares? Who knows what's happening? But you know who knows is the concierge people. They're always going to know because they have their ear to the ground. And while you're at work doing stuff, they are religiously, savagely even surfing the web looking for the latest information for you to help you have a good time, to also help you maybe save a little bit of cash. You know, one of the coolest things I heard, I think Eric said, which is a shocker, everybody.
Oh my!
But if they book a hotel for you, and then later on there's a way to get that same hotel at a lower rate, they're going to track that for you, and they're going to automatically apply that and then refund you the difference of the thing. So they actively will save you money.
It's pretty great when they do that. Yes,
it's kind of nice. I like it. Yeah. So check them out. Concierge.com. They are our official travel partner, and they will help you have the best vacation you've ever had in your entire life.
Guaranteed.
Or your money back. That's one thing. That's one thing Concierge says. They say if you don't have the best time of your life, if you're married, this will be better than you're married. It'll be better than your wedding. You're better than your honeymoon. You have kids, better than the birth of your children. Better than your own birth. If it's not, you get free trip, and your next trip is free too. And that is a concierge guarantee.
You're going to get an email.
Please direct all attempts at refunds to disney.go.net.
Yeah, because you don't pay concierge, so.
And look, man.
But actually, then it's true. You get refunded your $0.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. All right, Eric, what do you got for us, man? You got a little something, right?
Oh, I got a little something about a woman whose name is on a window. That's right. It's
on
another
a window.
Yeah, on a window. That's a weird last name.
A woman whose name is on a window. Did I pronounce that weirdly? I'm sorry.
I don't actually know if you're joking. Is her name on a window, or is she on a window?
Her name is painted on a window on
her name
Main
is
Street.
painted on a window.
Okay.
She's Native American.
So her name is not on a window.
No, it's painted.
Her name is not on a window.
And her last name is on a window.
Got it.
Well, off to a good start here.
Yeah.
Cicely Rigdon. Her window is on Main Street, USA at Disneyland. It reads, Ambassador Finishing School, Cicely Rigdon, instructor. It is right above the China Closet store. This is a person who I really didn't know a lot about until I was on one of the tours that I took at Disneyland last year, when I took the Main Street tour where we got to go into Walt's apartment and everything. And the ambassador, who was, or the plaid who was taking us through the tour, pointed out that window as one of his favorites because she's the one who started the ambassador program.
Oh, that's cool.
And she is the only person outside of the Disney family to hold a key to Walt's apartment back when he was around.
Oh, I wonder why. Are we insinuating something?
Oh, let's get into the sordid story. Which is not sordid at all.
Oh, that's too bad.
Cicely was born in 1923 in Bradford, England. Her maiden name was Cicely Boland, and she married an American after World War II, Glenn Rigdon.
That's too
and
bad.
Glenn brought her back to the USA in 1946, and they moved to Long Beach, California in 1950. When her daughters got a little bit older, she decided, well, it's time to get to work. I live in America, and it's the 50s. It's time to get a job.
Yes.
Get out of the kitchen and get a job, woman.
So Cicely, living in Long Beach, decided the best place to work was Disneyland down the street. She never brought an application to the parks.
Man, the 50s were a wild time.
Right. She just showed up.
It's awesome.
At Disneyland and wanted a job and declared that she would like to interview for jobs. She did this 5 times.
Dang. Good for her.
Before she finally connected with the head of personnel, Chuck Whalen, who gave her a job as a ticket seller because
Chuck went whaling on that resume.
Yeah.
And hired
her. Chuck decided that she would be a great ticket seller because she could add and subtract.
My God. Sometimes, man, you hear stories about women in the 50s and men just must have thought that women were like fresh out of the jungle.
Yeah.
Like these are chimpanzee people.
They had like applesauce brain.
Yeah. Just like, well, you can add it. Did you dress yourself?
Yeah.
That's why women didn't wear shoes with shoelaces back then. They slipped on because it was really taxing for the women.
Jeez.
Goodness, yeah.
You can add and subtract.
She looks really pretty and she can read too.
She has full executive function over both of her hands. She can hold a pencil. Hire her, but as a pencil holder.
This is exactly why we haven't had a woman president yet.
Yeah, yes.
because that was
You're
not that
wrong.
long ago.
No, you're not
Where
wrong.
a woman got a job because she could add and subtract. I mean, Alice could get a job then by that criteria.
She should. I mean, I'm sure that it's a little more
yes,
tongue in cheek than that, but that is very funny.
None of the men want this job. Who else will do it?
Yeah.
Well, none of the men could add and subtract.
There you go.
Maybe that was it.
Well,
maybe that was it. That's the last job, and no man could fill it.
There you go. Cicely did very well in this job. She sold tickets faster than everybody else, and her drawer was always balanced at the end of her shift because she added and subtracted so well.
She really did do better than them.
Good job.
Yeah. Well,
I love it.
In 1958, she was moved up to tour guide because she was given an option. There were seasonal layoffs happening, and they said, we don't need more ticket sellers. The summer is over. If you want to keep a job here, you need to become something. And she chose tour guide. Very quickly, she was promoted to lead of the entire team. She suggested that Disneyland sell guided tours to guests who were coming in on Greyhound buses. So
that's a good idea. So
that's
she
why
started.
She has the key.
Damn.
There you go. So yeah, you're taking the Greyhound in, and hey, why not buy a guided tour of Disneyland when you get there? Tours at this time started out at the hub end of Main Street, and once they became popular, that was kind of they decided that was a bad area to have everybody congregating, so they established the garden that we see now, which is on the west side of the entrance, just past the the railroad. Just as you pass in, there's that little
it's on the left.
That little area. They've got a private bathroom, the little hut that everybody's in.
Yeah, you walk past it. It's easy to miss, but if you go to City Hall, you're too far.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been there since the late 50s, and that was
Wow.
because of her making these tours more popular.
You know what? Honestly, if you next time you go to the parks, even if you're not going to meet for a tour, go in the area because you can still walk in there. I think at least when we were there, it is kind of a quiet, unique little space.
It is, and you can talk to the tour guides. They're usually hanging out.
Oh yeah,
yeah. There's usually somebody in the morning. There's usually somebody in there, and they're very friendly. You can just hang out, ask them questions, whatever, learn about what tours are going on today.
Nice.
Well, through the 1960s, tours rose in popularity even more. She, as the lead, Cicely, designed different tours of the park and trained all of the new guides. She decided that as a proper British woman, she would use her upbringing and establish a sort of standard for all of the tour guides. So she is the one that taught everybody that they had to be proper. They had to use proper British manners. They had to dress in that riding sort of outfit with the plaid.
Wow.
She established all of this, and she even in the 60s, such as it was, it's not, it's still the 60s, but she established a certain sort of cultural sensitivity, like learning how to approach guests from other countries and understanding teaching people to understand that they don't have the same background that everybody else coming into the park might have. So
that was as far as like personal space or
yeah.
Like
I mean, some of those things like don't smile with your teeth to certain cultures, and learn what people want to do, what they find important when they come into the park. And so
cool.
She started all of this. She even established she developed a crew of tour guides where at one point they had 120 different tour guides who spoke up to 11 different languages.
Good Lord. That's too much. It's overkill.
So yeah, like I mentioned, she established the equestrian outfits that they had. And in 1964, she was put in charge of the division of tours, tickets, and guest relations. This is around the time when she became the keeper of the keys. She was trusted to ensure that Walt's apartment was clean and dusted whenever guests were expected. And Cicely stocked the room with food and drinks whenever anybody was going to be around. So that little Tom and Jerry bowl, she probably brought all the liquor and dumped it in there.
That's awesome.
We should get her Tom and Jerry recipe.
Right. She continued this tradition even after Walt had passed. Whenever Lillian was coming to the park, she made sure to let Cicely know so Cicely could have the apartment ready for her. In 1971, she was sent to Florida to train the new crew of ambassadors there. And let's see, in 1982, she managed the Disneyland Ambassador to the World program. She considered this a new start to her career. Her husband had passed away, and she wanted a new challenge. So she established the 13 ambassadors that didn't work in the parks, but were ambassadors around the world. They were the ones that were on TV all of the time and
nice.
kind of spread the message elsewhere. In 1994, she retired. Her legacy, Cicely's legacy, she was the first and only female manager in the parks for many years.
Wow.
And she was considered by many to be the definition of Disneyland customer service.
Wow.
And that's a big deal. I mean,
yeah.
that's all deal, like that's what you think of. Like that's what's taught. We teach it even at my company. Like, you know that you're going to get a certain level of service at Disneyland, and it sounds like she really set that tone. That's really cool.
That was her, and I mean, it kind of sounds like they were just a ragtag bunch of street ruffians until she showed up. Yeah. And smacked the riding crop in her hands and said, "All right, let's get to work."
Well, that's a parody on a different channel. Yeah, it's the Bad News Bears, but of Disneyland tour guys.
There you go.
Yeah.
She once, before she was in charge of so many things, she endeared herself to Walt Disney. She didn't recognize him, and he came up to her in the park and asked how things were going, and she complained that she couldn't stand selling tickets in Storybook Land because the Casey Jr. Train song was playing on a loop all day long. She couldn't stand it.
I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, just wait 10 more years. We're gonna have a better song that plays on a loop at a different part of the park."
There you go.
Yeah, you think that's insufferable?
Her window on Main Street was established just after her retirement, and in 2005, she had a Disney Legend ceremony. So it was declared that Disneyland endured because Walt was she declared in her ceremony acceptance that Disneyland endured because Walt was a genuinely nice and creative man. She never thought she deserved all the attention she got and the accolades she got because she was just doing her job.
Oh, man.
So Cicely passed away very, not very long ago, on December 31st, 2013. She worked for Disneyland for 37 years.
Wow, good for her.
Yeah.
See, kids, stay in school. Learn addition and subtraction, and you too can get a job.
And just show up at Disneyland.
And have good posture.
Just show up.
Well, yeah. And a riding crop. That never hurts.
There you go.
It's funny because this whole story reminds me of like when I started my current job. The woman who I took over for was she had this whole program at our company that did not really work out because millennials and Gen Z were coming in, but she was an older woman, and she had this whole thing where like all of our receptionists she thought should wear scarves and blazers, and we were like, and so she did this, and they expected me to continue it, and I was like,
"What are we, real estate agents from 1994?"
Yeah,
no.
I just like I was brand new, so I like didn't fight it, but I just didn't do it. I just never did it. And then somebody asked one day, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know. That was something that she did."
Yeah,
I was like, because I'm like, I'm not gonna. Oh, and like a pin, like a gold pin, and I'm like, we're not like.
Seriously, it's selling real estate in Florida. That's what I picture currently today.
Yeah, I mean, she retired. She's older. She's that generation.
And you declared this tradition is over the second she handed you the keys.
I was like,
yeah, I have the big staff. She clunks it down. I declare we will no longer look like Blanche Dubois at work. Yeah. Boom.
Well, and more of it was like our receptionists are of a younger age, and I'm like, there is no way that I have the drive to try and convince these people that they have to dress a certain way.
It's probably enough to make sure they don't show up in pajama pants.
Yes, like and at the time, not jeans. Like I think jeans have come around now, but like I mean, at the time, like there were no tattoos at our company. Like we've really expanded our what you can wear and have.
Wow.
And
well, hey, God bless for progress,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Big ups for progress.
Good job
Press
for her.
F in the respects in the chat for respects for progress. You know what else you can respect? Summer is just around the corner, and our friends at the 21st Amendment Brewery are welcoming the warmer weather with open arms and a refreshing favorite, Hell or High Watermelon Wheat. Picture this: a sunny day, the smell of barbecue in the air, and a cold, crisp Hell or High Watermelon in your hand. It's the ultimate summertime companion, perfect for those unforgettable gatherings with friends and family. But what makes Hell or High Watermelon so special? It's not just its bright straw color or tight white bubbles. No, it's the subtle blend of wheat beer with a hint of sweet biscuit and a kiss of juicy watermelon that sets it apart from the rest. With its refreshing flavor and delightful light fruit notes, Hell or High Watermelon is bound to become your go-to summer beer. And at just 4.9% ABV, you can enjoy it all day long without missing a beat. So when you're looking for that perfect beverage to complement those sunny days and backyard barbecues, look no further than Hell or High Watermelon Wheat. Find it wherever great craft beer is sold and make this summer one to remember. That's right, everybody. Do it. Do it now. I had some news, but I don't want to do it.
No, great.
I think we've been here for a while.
Been going for a while, yeah.
We did some last night.
And we did a lot of news last night.
That's true.
If you're getting this for free, you should pay us money, and then you can hear all about the news.
Yes, there you go.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, let's get out of here. I think we're going to bounce. Actually, before we do that, let's talk a brief moment or two about our brand new show on the network, Buena Vista Boys. That is out and released on Monday. We have 3 episodes for you, and it's Matt and I. And if you don't know, Matt is the one who designed our Mai Tai glasses from Christmas and the summer one from a couple of years ago. So good dude, nice guy. He has a podcast called Shelter from Oblivion. You can find that as well. But over on Buena Vista Boys, what we do is we go through we're going through all of the live action old school Disney movies that were distributed by Buena Vista Distribution. And it's going to be a serial format. So it's seasonal. Excuse me. We're going to do 10 episodes and we're going to take a break, which is going to be awesome for everybody involved.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So we have 3 episodes up right now. 2 are movies. One's a trailer. And then we have 2 movies. We talk about the Shaggy Dog. And then we do Hot Lead and Cold Feet. And basically, I think I've said this before, but basically just run through the plot of the movie, kind of what happened, and talk about that. And then we give some cool facts and fun information about the movies. And it's a good time. Excuse me. We just recorded one which I got to start editing next week called Moon Pilot. So if you want to get ahead of the game, I believe you can rent that on Amazon Prime. I don't think it's on Disney Plus. I don't know. That's a movie. Just gonna say that. That's a tough movie. That's a tough movie.
Yeah.
It's one I have not seen, so I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, watch it.
Okay.
With all of these movies, definitely watch them because they're worth it. They're cute and whatever, but Moon Pilot was, it's crazy. So I'll get that out. I think the week of September 9th, that's probably going to drop. And then the one after that we're going to do is the Computer Wore Tennis Shoes. I know nothing about it other than Kirk Douglas is in it. No. Kirk Cameron. No. Kevin McCarthy. No. Who is it? What's his name?
In what?
Michael Douglas.
Michael
Kirk
Douglas?
Cameron. No, what's his name? You can't think of it because I've been poisoning your brain with different words.
What movie? Kurt.
The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes.
Yeah, it's
he was married to Goldie Hawn.
Yeah, no, I think he still is.
Kirk Cameron.
No,
it's Kirk Cameron.
Not Kirk Cameron.
It's starring Kirk Cameron.
No,
yep. You're never going to convince me otherwise.
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell. That's right. Thank you very much.
I didn't
Starring
have to
Kurt
Google
Russell.
It. I'm really proud of that.
Good job, baby. I'm proud of you too. And he looks weird because he's like 16 or whatever, and he's just very puffy and odd looking. But yeah, anyways. So that's what we're doing over there on Buena Vista Boys. So please go. It has its own RSS feed. Don't expect it here on this one. Go find it, check it out, and give us a few listens, man. I'd appreciate it. And then if you want to know more about all the other shows that we have on the network, or where you can buy cool merch, because we have a lot of nice shirts and whatever, including the Bob Chapek Misfits shirt that I have on right now currently that you can't see because it's a podcast. Go over, check our website, EarzUp-podcast.com. I'm trying to stall for time until I find this button. There we go. So anyway, thank you very much, everybody, for supporting the show. Oh, yeah, join us on Patreon, too. Patreon.com/EarzUp, where you get the secret show and, a bunch of other shows, actually. We have a lot of content that we crank out for everybody, and I really appreciate everybody's support. So, once again, thank you very much to Dane, director of Beyond the Glass. So go check it out on the Big Beautiful Diz YouTube channel. And drop a comment, man. And, let them know how much you liked it, and I really appreciate it. It's a good movie. It's definitely worth your time, and you're gonna learn at least one thing, I guarantee you. And that's all you can really ask for these days. It's great. It's good stuff. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate you, and until next time, we will see you in the parks.